The president just announced another $800 million weapons package, including heavy artillery and drones, to aid Ukraine in its fight against Russia. The president also announced an additional $500 million in direct economic assistance to the Ukrainian government, as well as a new program for Ukrainian refugees to come to the United States if they have a sponsor. Joining me now is ABC's Alex Prochet in D.C. and former senior CIA field operative Daryl Blocker for more on this. Daryl, the president says that we're in a critical window in this war right now. What does he mean by that? And what do you make of these new weapons he plans to send to Ukraine?
I'll start with the weapons front. The weapons are always important. We talk about armies moving on their stomachs, but at the end of the day, if they don't have bullets and they don't have the means to protect themselves, if not go on the offensive, then they're going to be in a tough way. Now, in terms of the critical window, honestly, every day is critical. There's a coalition that could be having a little bit of fatigue. We're not even 60 days into this, and we're already starting to see that maybe people's commitment is not what it was. Perhaps the ICBM launch yesterday also brought some folks that are being concerned, but critical in the sense that money is not the issue. It's actually getting the weapons to the people on the ground into the right Ukrainian hands. I'm sorry.
All right, Daryl, thanks. I want to go to ABC News Chief White House correspondent Cecilia Vega, who's there at the White House. Cecilia, what do we know about this plan to try to help some Ukrainian refugees come here to the U.S.?
Yeah, this is a plan that the White House has been working on for a while now, Diane, and they basically are trying to make it easier for Ukrainians to come here. There is a real question, though, right now of whether Ukrainians, and this is something the White House has said all along, whether Ukrainians really want to actually relocate this far away, given that their families and their lives are so far away on another continent. And that is a big step for this White House. It's something that's been in the works. But really, Diane, the headline out of this today is this massive amount of aid and the big picture number that we're talking about here. You said, you heard the president say this $800,000 today in military assistance. That's on top of the $800,000 from last week. The Treasury Department announcing this millions. I'm so many numbers, I'm even using the wrong ones. $500 million in economic aid going to Ukraine, and that's going to cover things like salaries and pensions. But the big number, and this is huge, more than $3 billion just since this war has started. And so there's a real question right now, and Karen Travers put this to the president, of how much longer the United States can continue to sustain this kind of aid and really continue to bankroll this war. We're not sending in troops, but there is very much a sense that the United States is helping to bankroll the war. And the president gave this enlightening answer, saying it's really going to depend on how much they can keep this international coalition together. You know, we are starting to see some of these cracks in the unity that the United States has, that the president has so proudly, been touting for so many weeks now. But the question is, how much longer can they continue to stay together and have this aid go forward, Diane?
All right, Cecilia Vega at the White House. Let's put that question to ABC News Chief Global Affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz, who's live in Washington for us. Martha, you heard Cecilia there breaking down some of the costs so far. The president today says the support for Ukraine will hit $1 billion in the last 2 months. That's from the U.S. alone. But he says that we can sustain this level of support with international unity. Is that likely to wane anytime soon?
I think that is a real concern. In fact, I was a little surprised the president brought that up and said the question is, can we sustain this international pressure? That has already been a concern, but clearly they've been very pleased with what has happened so far, and they have had that unity. But as those sanctions on Russia take effect, some of those European countries are going to get concerned about the effect on their own countries. So that is truly something to watch as we send in these enormous amounts of weapons, and Russia really starts feeling it.
All right, Martha, thank you. And Alex, the president says that even where we stand now, he will need approval from Congress to keep funding Ukraine at this level. Is he likely to get it? What needs to happen there?
Well, Diane, you heard the president talking about how we've nearly exhausted that drawdown fund of roughly about $900 million still left in the drawdown fund. This latest announcement of $800 billion, leaving just about $100 million left in that. And so he'll be going to Congress for supplemental funding in the coming days. And if you remember, I mean, like during even his State of the Union speech, I mean, this was one of the singular issues that he had consistent and boisterous bipartisan support on, right? Standing ovations for the U.S.'s support towards Ukraine. And so far right now, there are no indicators that he won't get that support in Congress. But again, you look at the numbers here. Cecilia brought it up, more than $3 billion in military aid already to Ukraine. And, you know, that's going to be a debate that plays out here in Capitol Hill.
And Mick, when you look at this plan to try to help some Ukrainian citizens come here to the U.S. via sponsors, how is that expected to play out logistically, and what does that do for the current crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border?
So, Diane, I think the point is we don't want the Ukrainians that we've already approved to come to the United States, or at least the numbers, to have to go through the southern border. So I think there is a substantial logistical efforts that's underway in Poland that can bring them in a more official way and a more humanitarian way. And that's important that we keep the promise that we made to these individuals.
And Daryl, when you look at the latest on the fighting in Ukraine, particularly this new blockade that Vladimir Putin says he will be posting outside that steel plant in Mariupol, the last holdout of that city, how do you see this playing out? And is there any end to this in sight?
Sadly, the Mariupol is one of those places that Ukraine might need to cede and allow the Russians to take it and fall back. It's really frightening because the pictures that are coming out of there are scary, and that's just what you can see on the surface. There's a lot more under the surface that's going to come out. Controlling the steel, controlling the bridge between Donbass and the Crimea, I believe, is the goal. And incrementally controlling the entire eastern seaboard seems to be what Russia wants to do.
So, Alex, when you look here at home in the U.S., we've got inflation at a near 40-year high. Gas prices are obviously high. With a midterm election coming up, how careful does the president need to be that the American people don't view Ukraine to him as a distraction from needs here at home?
Well, Diane, it's interesting because the president has put the blame of a lot of the prices at the pump, or the pain at the pump, if you will, on what he's called Putin's price hike, right? And so, I mean, that's definitely been the positioning of the administration heading into this midterm season. I think it's something that they're very cognizant of. It's going to be an issue, something that they're hit over the head with by Republicans who are campaigning in these districts as they try to take back the House. But at least for right now, it's been a consistent positioning that all of these, whether it be the pain at the pump, whether it be inflation, is singularly attributed to this war in Ukraine, and they view it as effective thus far. But again, we're going to see how that plays out for the American people.
All right, Alex Boucher, Mick Mulroy, Daryl Blocker, Cecilia Vega, and Martha Raddatz. Thank you all.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.